This story is about my grandmother Hilda Jordan. The year was November 8th, 1935. She was born in a small island that's part of Honduras called Amapala, also known as the Island of the Tiger. The whole Republic of Honduras was going through a difficult financial situation. However, my grandmother denies having to feel the bitterness of poverty during her childhood. Back in the 1940s, Amapala contained one of the most important ports of Honduras. Many ships arrived from other countries in Latin America and Europe.
Para llegar a tierra firme, agarrar el bus que nos llevara a la capital, yo viajé 3 horas por agua.
To get to land, we had to get on a ferry. We sailed for 3 hours, and the happiest moment was when I noticed dolphins racing with the boat. We quickly got bread and started throwing it, so the dolphins can eat it. And that would be the most unforgettable memory I had when I was 7 years old.
Y empezamos a darle pedacitos de pan a los delfines.
Y eso fue
y eso para mí ha sido un recuerdo lindo que nunca se me olvida.
Okay.
During the 1950s, my grandmother was dating my grandfather, whose name was Victor Teresin. Victor was from a fine family that had a lot of reputation. They were known to have a lot of their men in the military. He was much older than my grandmother. They married, and in 1954 my mother was born. They named her Laura. When my mother Laura was 6 years old, my grandparents separated. The whole pueblo knew of their separation and was mostly on my grandfather's side, the well-respected Victor Teresin.
¿Usted cree que la forma en que usted vivió su vida en Honduras le ha afectado su manera de ser?
No.
Affected your way of life emotionally?
Porque a pesar
Because even though we had some inconveniences, I've always considered myself happy. Because I had my mother and a family. And it was a blissful union. And that made me feel very good.
Una unión muy linda que había entre toda la familia. Y eso me hacía sentirme muy bien.
Qué bien.
After her separation, my grandmother wanted to live a better life. She knew she was going to struggle, but she was determined that she'll do whatever it takes. According to all that knew my grandmother when she was young, they claimed she had a strong character, was very independent and ambitious. And because of this modern personality that was blossoming inside her, many people of the pueblo disliked her. She didn't care, because she wasn't scared to suffer. She moved to San Pedro Sula, which is in the northwest part of Honduras, and discovered she was pregnant. Her second child was born. It was a baby boy and was named Gustavo, who's my uncle. In the late 1960s, she met a young man by the name of Harold Jordan. Harold was an accountant at one of Honduras' major banks. They had my uncle Dennis in 1970. He's the youngest of the 3 children. Even though my grandmother had her husband and family and was living the life many wanted during that time, she still wanted something more. Something that would not only change her life, but the life of her children. This is when a new adventure awaited her destiny.
¿Qué la motivó para llegar a los Estados Unidos?
What motivated you to move to the United States?
Pensar que mis hijos iban
Just thinking
creciendo
that my kids were
y yo
growing
quería
up,
algo mejor para
I
ellos.
wanted something better for them. Because the economic situation in my country was very difficult. I would think that by me coming here, my kids would have a better education. And I achieved that.
¿Y en qué año usted
What
se
year
vino para
did you
acá, a
come
los
to the
Estados
United
Unidos?
States?
In
In 1973.
1973.
In 1973, my grandmother moved to the United States by herself. She resided with friends that were already familiarized with the Americano way of life. It was very hard dealing with the separation of her family and children, but she did this to gain a better future for them. Her husband Harold later reunited with her. In 1978, it was decided they were going to leave Los Angeles and move to New York. One of her childhood friends lived there and told them that the jobs in New York were paying much better, especially in the sewing industry.
En todos los años que ha vivido aquí en los Estados Unidos, ¿qué ha logrado y qué
In
quiere
all the
lograr?
years that you've lived in the U.S.,
Bueno, yo
what
viví
were your
cuando
achievements?
entré a los Estados
When I
Unidos,
came to the
llegué a
United States,
California.
I lived in
En
California
California
and found a good job
también
referring
encontré
to
un
my
trabajo
skill in
muy bueno,
sewing.
que siempre refiriéndose a mi trabajo.
Profesión.
A mi trabajo.
Ujú.
Y luego me vine para Nueva York y allí es donde yo
Then
encontré
I moved to New York,
lo
and that's
mejor.
where I found the best.
Logré
I sought to work
trabajar
with great fashion
con
companies
grandes
and famous
empresas,
fashion designers.
con grandes diseñadores famosos.
A ver, ¿qué quiere
Okay,
lograr
and what do you
ahorita que
want to
está en la
achieve
Florida?
now?
No, en la
Well,
Florida
in
logré
Florida, what I have
el
achieved
sueño
is the
americano.
so-called American
es-
dream, in which
Tengo
I
mi
bought a
casa
house with
con
my
mi
husband,
esposo, vivo feliz, tranquila y tengo todos mis hijos acá.
and all my kids are here
Qué
as
bien.
well.
¿Y ese niño que tiene ahí a sus manos?
Who is that little
Este es
boy
mi
that you're
bisnieto,
carrying?
es hija de mis
This
de
is
una
my
de mis nietas.
great-grandson,
Y para la
He is the
información
son
del
of one of
público,
my
esa nieta
granddaughters.
soy yo.
And for the public's information, that granddaughter is
Bueno,
myself.
muchas gracias por la entrevista.
Thank you very
abuela.
much for this
Y
interview, Grandma. And let's see what else
vamos a
life
ver qué
brings
la vida
us.
nos trae.
Ah,
Well,
Él nos traiga
may it bring
mucha
peace,
paz,
love,
amor
and
Y
happiness.
felicidad.
y felicidad.
Thank you.
Así mismo.
Sí.
Ok.